wanted to show you a quick, really easy way of making caramel sauce with just using condensed milk, and it's so easy. What you're gonna do, I did this ahead of time because I wanted to assemble this, and you have to wait for this to cool. But what you're essentially gonna do is you're gonna fill up a pot of water, you're gonna tilt this on its side, and you're gonna drop it in. You're not gonna open it. Yes, my can is a little rusty, it's fine. What you're gonna do is you're literally gonna fill up a pot full of water, cold. You're gonna drop this in. You're gonna bring it up to a boil, and you're gonna simmer it like you would a soup. So you're not gonna have a crazy boil. You're just gonna have the water coming up, and it looks like it's almost like a fountain that's like ever so slightly bubbling. You're gonna have that on there for 2 hours. The one thing that you do have to keep an eye out for is your water level, because you don't want this to not be in water, and you don't want the pot to be empty. Then you're gonna take it out of the water. What I do is I literally I dump the water and then just stick it on the counter on a piece of paper towel. And then once this is cooled and you can handle it easily, I did this yesterday. No, sorry, I did this 2 days ago. It can actually sit in here for a few days. So say if you might have company coming over and you want to kind of do this ahead of time, that is a great way to do it. I peel off my paper just because I wanted to show you what exactly I'm using. If you leave the paper on there before the water bath, big whoop, it just peels right off or falls off. And the other thing that you need for this recipe is you need big wafers. So these you can find at any delicatessen. All the European delicatessens have this. It's just wafers. There's nothing in them. You can add jam if you want. We're doing caramel. So let me show you my favorite recipe for dessert of all time. If nobody was watching, I would have devoured this entire thing. And when my mom made this at Christmas, I pretty much ate all of it. I'm not gonna lie, I just popped a squat right in front of the tray and gobbled it all up because it is delicious. Once this has completely cooled, you're gonna then open it up. And this is what you're left with. A nice firm caramel. It's so much thicker. And what you're gonna do is, I wanna make sure you guys can see what I'm doing, is layer by layer, you're just gonna smear it on. Now the reason why I said it's better to make it ahead of time, if you were to start eating this right away, the thing is that the wafer is really, really dry. And if you were to eat this right away, because the wafer is so dry, it'll end up becoming this pasty, dry mess in your mouth. So to get it perfect, you need to let this sit for at minimum 6 hours. But again, the longer that you let it sit, the more moisture that's going to penetrate into the wafer and the more soft it's going to get. Like I said before, this is by far my favorite recipe of all time. So once you have everything filled, you're then just going to take your next piece of wafer. It has nothing on it, and you're just going to lay it up as best as you can. Now, if you don't go all the way to the edges, what you can do is you can always cut it with a really long, sharp knife and then discard those pieces. Those were the ones that my mom always gave to us, and she didn't give it to the guests. And we didn't complain whatsoever because we were just so happy to get it. This stuff is so good. With this recipe, you basically just keep doing layers until you run out of ingredients. And that's it. It is so incredibly simple. Right here, what I'm doing is I don't have a ruler that's long enough, so I'm just basically eyeballing it with my knife, and I'm doubling the height of this because I don't have enough to do the entire layer. And it's nice because my wafer is going to be twice as tall and twice as thick and twice as yummy. So I'm just doing the best that I can with layering all the caramel on top and just stacking it on top of each other. once you're done building your wafers, you're going to take a cutting board of some sort and you're going to take some pots and you're going to fill them with water, because what you need to do is you need to press the wafers down completely because you're going to want to curl. You're going to have the weight sitting on the wafers for at least 6 hours. The longer the better. Ideally, you would want this to be basically overnight or about 12 hours, but you can get away with 6 hours. All right, here's the moment of truth, and voila! So now all we have to do is cut this guy. So here you can get really fancy. So if you don't want to go fancy, you can just cut everything straight. Or if you want to get fancy, you get these funny looking corners that your kids will definitely eat, because that was always my favorite part. And you can just pick the length that you want, and then you get all these cool looking diamond shapes, and it looks really, really fancy. Hang on, there we go. And so all you're gonna do is you're gonna use that same angle, and then when you get to the end, you're gonna have that funny looking corner again. Just to make my life easier, I always just do the little squares, and it's actually easier for me to put it in a container because we're going to the coast this weekend, and this is gonna be our dessert. I cut up everything up, and let's do a final taste test. I can see that the wafers are nice and squishy, so I can squeeze them down. And the longer they sit, oh, I already know this is gonna be delicious. So good. The longer that they sit, the softer the wafer's gonna get. I personally don't like chocolate. Please do not leave comments below on how that's like just the worst thing in the world. I don't like chocolate. What are you gonna do? But if you wanna kind of take this to the next level, stick these in the fridge, then melt some chocolate, dunk them in chocolate, and then put them on parchment paper and wait for them to solidify. And then they'll end up being the next level of these delicious caramel wafers. We're gonna definitely enjoy these over the next 4 days, and I'll see you on the next show. Bye guys.